Hey everybody, this is JBizzo49,
And PrometheusMFD.
and today we bring you The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker HD.
Ah, yes. I can already tell that this is looking a lot more HD than the version I played.
Which is weird because I did not actually record this in HD.
Huh. But, yeah, just looking at it, the textures have been completely redone. It's almost a, less cel-shaded look.
Well, we'll go into, like, some of the more obvious differences with the HD remake after we go through the opening story segment. And I fucked up my own name.
JBiz.
I am now 10 points less of a JBizzo, apparently. Before I'm just like, fuck it. Okay, so you're given the option to go normal mode or hero mode right away. You do not have to unlock hero mode. It gives it to you right away. Which is basically the same as hero mode in Skyward Sword, where you don't get heart drops. That's the only difference.
Because they added that.
Mm-hmm.
Because why not? This intro is probably one of my favorite Zelda intros of all time.
Before we delve into that, for this playthrough, we will be going on normal mode the whole way through. You can actually play the game on hero mode at different points in the game. You can switch between the two.
So it's like hardcore mode on a certain post-apocalyptic RPG that I'm not going to mention because it would detract from the game that we are watching.
Yes.
This post-apocalyptic fantasy action-adventure game that is... so, well, there's a lot of history to this particular game. When it was first announced, it was the big Zelda title for the Nintendo GameCube. With the announcement of the GameCube, we got a certain Zelda trailer. It continued like the darker, grittier art style that Ocarina of Time kind of put into place and Majora's Mask kind of rolled with.
We're talking about the trailer shown, I believe, at Space World 2000.
Yes. And, people saw that and they lost their minds, because they're like, oh man, is this the future of Zelda? Because this looks really good and really cool and really awesome. And I want to see more of this.
So then...
A few years passed, we didn't hear anything.
And then E3 02 rolls around?
Yeah, it was 02. They showed off The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. And quote-unquote fans lost their minds.
But for a completely different reason.
They decried this as pretty much the downfall of the Zelda franchise. From what they saw with the cel-shaded graphics and the more cartoony look, Nintendo appeared to be making a more vapid, child-friendly game than the trailer we were shown earlier. And this is after...
So then this game would come out in Japan in December of 2002, and in North America, like January, February 2003. I don't know the exact date.
It was I think it was Q1.
It was definitely Q1 03 here in North America.
But,
And it actually turned out, it's like, hey, this is actually a good game.
It's a good game, and it's... Nintendo partially made it as a way of saying, yes, we can stick to a rigid schedule and still pump out great stuff.
You will see the downfall of this.
Yes. Granted, it's still one of the best Zelda games in the series. Hands down, it's a very good game. Very fun, very good story.
And then, of course, another trailer would show up. Another trailer would show up, E3 2004, that had the whole darker and edgier vibe that the Space World 2000 trailer had. And that eventually became Twilight Princess.
But we'll cover that when we cover Twilight Princess.
You're probably going to have to play that game.
Yeah.
Because I don't have any plans to get my hands on that game anytime soon.
So we basically did that whole discussion over the intro, and that intro basically was very much based on the events of Ocarina of Time. And this game kind of predated the fan-based split timeline theory a bit. I think it was this game coming out that kind of created the split timeline theory, which I guess was confirmed by Nintendo. But
so one of the things that you're going to immediately notice with the HD remake is they beefed up the lighting engine.
yeah, it looks like there's a bit more bloom than the original had.
That's the fucking word, bloom.
Like,
I was trying to think of just like how to describe the changes in the lighting.
oh yeah, that's a
in one
lot
word.
of bloom. Holy cow. All right, I'm gonna say right now, that's a criticism. Like, it kind of takes away from the rest of the color palette because it kind of washes things out. But part of that, I think, comes from the fact that this is pretty much a retexture of a, a 10-year-old game?
It will be 11 years old
11
this December.
So, we just discussed the date. I can't believe I forgot that we did that. So granted, yes, there's like issues with the polygons and with the shading that probably were made more apparent with the art upgrade.
And there are some clipping issues, and
Yes.
we will get to that when we get to that. But
Man.
for now, we're just going around Outset Island.
I remember way back when I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! At Toys R Us, because I used to hold things there. I would, like, after that, waiting for my parents to come pick me up, I'd go to the video game section and play the demo for this game. So Outset Island's a very good kind of starting area. This game does start I think this is one of the first games that actually shows Link having a family.
Having a family, yes.
Because we just met his sister Ariel, and this is his grandmother.
Yes, that is her name, grandmother.
So what the intro animatic did was basically establish that the events of Ocarina of Time had become a legend by the Wind Waker on the Great Sea, which is just a series of islands on a great ocean. And on this island, the boys of about age 12 is what Nintendo
12 sounds about right.
Nintendo said this Link is, where the green of the fields, as a coming of age,
Donning the garb of the hero.
So one notable thing that they continue to discuss about these clothes is that those clothes are definitely way too hot for this weather. Because if you remember, regular Hyrule, which is based on Arthurian legend, the British Isles, which is generally a temperate climate, generally rainy and wet.
Which means something like this would be perfect for that kind of climate.
But upon the Great Ocean, it's a very tropical setting.
Which makes sense. You have a lot of water around, which means you're going to get a lot of humidity.
Yes. And if you're
Science!
Yeah. You're going to get a lot of humidity, and the way the Great Ocean works, you're also... How do I discuss this without spoiling?
It's evil.
Yeah.
You can't really swim in it for very long.
No. And part
Get
of that
away
is...
from me, snot-nosed kid.
Part of that is a gameplay balance, because it prevents you from just swimming from island to island.
Oh, shit. Did not mean to jump in the water there. My bad.
And that's one thing this game tried to do, is it tried to do this huge overworld, which even if you took out most of the sailing, it's still a relatively large overworld for a Zelda game. I think only Twilight Princess managed to make a bigger one.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And just to cut down on loading times, they have this big expansive sea in between. And yes, sometimes it gets a bit dull. But
we will talk more about some of the dullness of the Great Sea when we actually start sailing, which won't be till like part 3 or 4.
Now this is the telescope is an interesting item, because I believe that, if I remember correctly, this is the first kind of zoom-in camera type item of the franchise.
As an item, yes.
And Twilight Princess kind of recreated it with the Hawk scope. But this one's technically a plot point.
I just want to point out that I am using the gamepad for this game, so the gamepad will have all of your shits, all your items, your map is there. And I'm just like, oh shit, where is this fucking bird? Oh, there.
Ah, yes, the Helma Rock.
Yes.
Probably one of my most favorite enemies in the game, and definitely one of my favorite bosses of this game.
We will get there, trust me.
Oh yeah.
That day will come.
Just in terms of sound design and characters, this is easily the best Zelda game. Just the way they use music, the musical stings, the themes for everything, it's just all so well crafted. And it kind of makes you wonder just what they could have achieved if they had spent the time to perfect everything about this game.
Trust me, we will continue to mention that this game was made on a deadline.
Yes.
Which Nintendo rarely does.
No, I think this is the only console Zelda game that was made on a deadline.
Sounds about right.
Nintendo, with their first-party titles, Nintendo's very good at just get it done when you get it done.
Ocarina of Time was like that.
Yeah.
Where I believe it was... I think we mentioned it in that playthrough, but it had been delayed a grand total of 18 months.
Jeez. This is also one of the first games that kind of... Link has to build up to being able to use a sword. Because, Ocarina of Time, you don't start with it. Even the first one, you don't start with it, but, one of the first things you do is go get your sword, and then you're
Unless you're doing a swordless run.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Fair enough. In terms of the intended story, the first thing you do is get your sword, and then you're just swinging away at it. This one kind of establishes that he had to have been taught swordplay by someone who had spent their life mastering it. And even then, by the time you actually start the quest, you still haven't really gotten that far into his training.
Let me just say I kind of suck at this particular part.
Man, I used to be... So, towards the, mid-game, you can unlock sort of a mini-game where you're basically doing this kind of training combat thing with him for as long as
I will be showing it off as a sort of, this is the stuff you can get from it. I will not be showing the entire thing, because seriously, we have trouble coming up with commentary where there's actually action on the fucking screen.
Yes. I used to be quite good at this, at that mini-game, and, I could go well beyond what they were asking, just because it is kind of fun to play. So one thing this game also introduced to the Zelda franchise was the parry system. In this one,
the parry system in this game is fucking awesome.
It's really fun, because part of this is Link is... Oh, wow, that cutscene kind of looks garbage. I'm not gonna lie. Like, here, it looks fine, but, just, you know, the item get pose kind of... I don't know, it looked almost clay-like. But as I was saying, the parry system in this one is an action... Because Link is such a small character, usually fighting much larger enemies, it's established that he really can't take as much of a hit. So the parry system is basically the action button goes all spiky for an instance, and if you hit it during that, then Link will do a parry attack. Depending on how you're moving or where you are positioned to your enemy, you're going to do a different maneuver. But it's all very fun to do, and I'm really glad to see that they adapted it to the controller scheme, making the A button go all spiky when it's time to parry. So I've noticed there are 6 buttons on the screen, not including the action. Does that mean there are 5 that you can bind items to?
There are still only 3.
Okay.
Because remember, when you get the shield, that has its own button.
And I just realized one of them would be for Z targeting. My bad. Or L targeting. Wait, is it Z or R targeting? L targeting.
It's ZL.
ZL targeting. It's gotten so
That won't
confusing.
get fucking confusing, will it?
Yes. This is probably one of the better tutorial sections in the Zelda franchise. Just because it kind of drops you into combat. And it's not too long, but it's still very fun to do. A lot of this game is very fun.
Expect to see me doing jump attacks whenever I can.
So you'll notice, and you probably noticed it back when he was with the Swords Master. I'm trying to remember his name.
Orca,
and then his brother's the smart one with the big head.
Yeah, I forget that guy's name.
When fighting Orca, you could have noticed that there was a musical sting to each attack, and that's part of the sound design. Each attack has a musical sting tied to it, so you kind of add to the music as you're fighting.
This is where that kind of thing got started.
Yes.
And it would continue to the likes of Twilight Princess, and I think even Skyward Sword had that, as much as I bashed the fuck out of Skyward Sword.
It was a bit more subtle in that one, though.
It was very subtle. You had to kind of listen for it, but it was there.
This is also the one that gave Link a voice beyond...
This cutscene is still hilariously bad.
Oh, yeah.
Snap.
And then, cartoon physics at its finest. I don't know why you would not like cartoon. Because cartoon physics are funny.
It's cartoon physics. You've got characters that are a hell of a lot more expressive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was another selling point on this. If you'll notice, Link doesn't have a fairy. So the way they have him give hints is if you look at his eyes.
Hold off on that. We will be getting that in part 2.
Sorry, I get so excited because I love this game.
I know, but we're kind of jumping the gun a bit on this by about 15 minutes.
Like, trust me, this is my favorite Zelda game. I'll go on about how good it is and how underappreciated it was for the longest time. But,
oh, this cutscene.
This cutscene's really good, and I'll point it out why I love it.
Obviously, nothing could possibly go wrong.
Oh,
right?
no, everything will just... the pirates will return to their ship, and it will be happily ever after.
Oh, God. Watch Link's face.
It's like...
That's great.
He's like, really?
And then the Helma Rock kind of just flies in place.
Yeah. Well, it's...
Leroy Jenkins! Oh my God, Jenkins!
Which, this is a very good character establishing moment, because it shows that he would run off a cliff if he thought it would help him save his sister. Link's a very good big brother. So, if you'll notice, the Helmarok's tail kind of clipped into itself when it was flying away, and that's still noticeable on the GameCube version. It was a lot more noticeable in this one. But that does kind of give it kind of a more not exactly bird-like feel to how it flies.
Would that explain how it just flew in place in the previous cutscene?
So, one thing this game also started with the franchise was massive callbacks to previous entries in the series. And you'll see stuff based on everything from Ocarina of Time to A Link to the Past to
well, the original Legend of Zelda.
Yeah,
We'll
to
get
the original.
that.
Like most of the games are referenced, and that's partially because of the setting. Which I'll say this. An ocean, having it be an ocean is a very apt metaphor for what the storyline became. There's a lot of depth to it, but it doesn't really seem like that on the surface. Maybe an iceberg would be better, but either that or I'm just bad at explaining my thought process.
Probably both.
Little from column A and a little from column B.
Yes.
Ah, yes, the Forsaken. So, here, I'll just cover that in the next part.
Yeah, because that will... And you won't have much time to cover it in,
Oh,
in
yeah!
Part 2.
Yeah!
Remember, we kind of talked about that.
So,
But we'll get to it when we get to it.
I'm less than proud to admit that this part stumped me, trying to find a shield. Like, I
was like, really?
I looked all over Outset Island except for Grandma's house, despite the fact that she showed us a shield.
You're just not very perceptive.
I am bad at video games. What?
Where'd it go?
Now this is another good storytelling aspect. Because Grandma knows what happens if you take the shield. And she cares for her grandchildren. But
I don't know if I can accept this. But I will anyway.
ah, yes, the hero shield.
Such a somber expression.
Yep. Yes, this is also one that the series that kind of plays with the item get pose. Because they just show that he really does that pose. It's not just like a thematic
he did
thing.
seem to like getting the hero's clothes, and was kind of somber about taking that shield.
And they do kind of play around with the concept a bit. This is definitely the game where they looked at all the tropes that the previous entries used and be like, how can we kind of poke fun at them? They definitely tried to do things in this game that they never really tried before. Ah, Tetra. Probably one of the...
That a fairly heirloom? What a piece of shit.
Man, your family has to really suck if you're not pirates like us. Gong.
This is cool.
Oh,
Sail.
this song
Leaving
is just
Outset
so
Island.
good. And there's all the people we could have talked to on Outset Island, but
But I'm like, fuck it. I actually, want to play the video game.
and they all have very distinct personalities, and there's really no NPC in this game that is generic. Every single one is its own character. Not even Ocarina of Time could pull that off.
So, a goodbye to Outset Island.
This is very much the scene where Link has realized where he's going.
Well,
oh yes, the pirate theme. It's so good. If you recognize it, Groos's theme is derived from this one.
it's quite similar, yes. And Groose was like the one thing that was fucking good about Skyward Sword.
Groos is great. What's the greatest thing about Skyward Sword?
Oh, okay, the bosses were all right in Skyward Sword.
The first and last bosses were all right in Skyward Sword.
I would argue that most of the bosses are actually pretty good.
So I'm also not exactly proud to admit that this this little puzzle right here kind of kicked my butt when I first played this game.
Are you fucking kidding me? I got this first time.
Well, granted, I was only about 12 when I played this, and I was not very good at console games at the time.
So this is a tutorial on jumping across small gaps
Which is actually pretty good in this game.
and going across sort of hanging rope things.
The swinging
Like
on
these-
ropes, I think this is the only main title, the only console title of this series to actually use this.
Skyward Sword had it.
Oh, okay. Because I don't think Twilight Princess really had it.
Skyward Sword had it and was not as good.
Yeah. Yes, it's very good in this one. It's like, oh no, we're not going to let you see the solution.
That would be too easy.
1 year, huh?
1 year? Well, I hope a year only lasts about 35 seconds in this world. Alright. Is this timed? Because I've never had this run out.
Yes, these platforms are timed. When they
The
go-
time limit must be like 5 hours or some shit, because I have never had
It's
a problem with this.
5 minutes, and then when they go down, there's the button you have to press up on that first ledge.
But fuck that.
You saw Mido hit it.
Nico.
Nico. I get them all confused.
This guy's name is Nico, and he has no faith.
He's like Mido.
Yes.
Oh no, well, I lost the bet. Might as well give away my captain's stuff. That's pretty much exactly what he's doing.
And he also doesn't learn, which we will see later.
Oh dear, that light's really bad.
We have the spoils bag.
Ah, yes, the spoils bag.
So, we have arrived at the Forsaken Fortress. And once we fade out of this little area here, that will be it for this part.
Aw, yeah, getting so much progress.
Rolling up steps? Fuck that.
Yeah, no, you can't do that in this game.
Well, you can do that with certain steps. Anyway, see you in part 2.